Happy Pride Month! Now you'll probably get a bunch of comments saying, why do gay people get a month? Or can't wait for straight Pride Month. And this video is to explain why that is bullshit. Pride Month is in June to honour the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan, otherwise known as the Stonewall Riots. This was a tipping point for the LGBTQ+ movement and signalised the start of gay rights everywhere. Following years were similar protests, and recently the event has become more of a celebration for how far we have come since Stonewall. It's a memorial to the people we have lost to illness and hate, and a safe space for those who don't have the support many others do. So if someone asks why we don't have straight pride, just remind them that they have it 365 days a year, and being homophobic in 2023 is absolutely boring.
London Pride as an autistic person. My favourite thing to do during Pride is watch the parade, and this year the Heartstopper cast were in it. It was incredible. I love the parade because you see so many people who are proud of who they are, that it then makes you even more proud of who you are. I went to Pride with my friend Grace and we enjoyed hyping people up in the parade. Let's go! London Pride was incredibly busy this year. All the event spaces were full, so there was a lot of people wandering around trying to work out what to do. The sheer volume of people was making me anxious and overwhelmed. At this point I knew I had to leave to avoid a meltdown. My friend and I decided to head to Embankment Park instead. We sat, talked and just chilled out for a bit. Having this space helped me feel more regulated and allowed me to continue enjoying Pride. In the end, Pride should be accessible for everyone and you should enjoy it the way that suits you best. Happy Pride!
Okay, so your friends are Stefan and Steven? Yeah. So my gay friends Steven and Stefan are in town, and I figured I'd introduce them to Chad because I need a little free entertainment, because watching Chad interact with two gay men is single-handedly the funniest thing I've ever witnessed. Chad, this is Steven. Hey man. Absolute pleasure, darling. And his boyfriend, Stefan? Oh. Hi, nice to meet you. Howdy. Cool. Awesome. Super cool. So you two are together. Yes. Yep. And that's awesome. Congratulations. That's stellar. Thank you. I'm super stoked for you. I'm here for it. And I'm queer for it. Is that... You know when you're watching a toddler skate for the first time and he just keeps falling over and you should probably help him, but it's kind of funny just to watch him fall? Jed's a toddler. And I think it's great that you're riding that gay train, guys, because I'm in that caboose, you know, just pumping my fist in full support of your gay train ride. All right, then. Not that I want to ride your train or in your train. I don't have a ticket. I'm just shoveling coal in the back into the engines of your love, you know? I just want you to know that. So... I think Chad might be a little gay. Definitely gay.
Good morning, Barbara. What's your opinion on gay marriage?
Well, I think they should have the right to get married. I just wish they would keep it out of schools.
Good morning, Amber. A question if you don't mind. What's your opinion on gay marriage?
Yes.
Captain Kaya, would you mind telling us your opinion on gay marriage?
Well, I support all marriages. Gay, straight, dragon.
Dragon? Hey, Venti, what's your opinion on gay rights?
Well, if you must know.
Fucking right in the pussy!
Hey, get back here!
What is gay?
I mean, just think of the children. I just don't think they should be exposed to that kind of lifestyle. They should just keep it to themselves.
Hi, Eula.
Yes, Commoner?
What's your opinion on gay marriage? I didn't even... Master D. Luke, what's your opinion on gay rights?
I think they should all have rights. except for Kaya.
Look what I draw. Oh, for Pride Month, that's cool. We're gonna take it outside. Are you sure? Yeah, well, I thought Americans were okay with it. Mostly, but like, we live in a conservative state, so you know what? They're kind of fob. They're scared of a rainbow? Yes. There's no way. Whoa. Hey, is that a rainbow? Yeah. What the f? There's no way. I see him flying. What the hell? Yeah! I got scared to death. What the hell is wrong with them?
Fasuka, I have to study more of the flags. Well, don't worry, because
Bird and Craig will explain some flags to you. Woohoo!
Flags! I can't wait to see where we're going.
it's not where we're going, it's who we're going. Many of you already know this girly. This bodacious woman is the transgender flag, and she can often be an umbrella flag for various kinds of gender queerness. Trans people identify differently than the sex they're assigned at birth.
If your gender has a little pizzazz, the trans flag is your kind of jazz.
Now let's get into it. Take a look at this flag.
The Los Angeles Lakers.
No, this is the non-binary flag. If someone does not feel identified with man or woman, i.e. the gender binary that society has made up, then they exist outside of the binary, hence non-binary.
If you don't like option 1 or 2, then you gotta do what feels right for you.
This is the gender fluid flag.
They served me gender fluid at a drag brunch once.
Craig. If you think of gender as a spectrum somewhere between manhood and womanhood, gender fluid people ride that spectrum.
Like a slip and slide.
Craig rhymes!
If your gender likes to change, you're in the gender fluid range.
The intersex flag represents people who were born with parts and chromosomes that naturally do not fit into the gender binary. They remind us that the gender and sexual binaries we've invented are damaging, because naturally, scientifically, gender and sex is not a two-size-fits-all kind of deal.
If you were born with divergent parts, we give you our fullest hearts.
We've got more gender to go in part 2, but remember, gender is a personal experience, so don't be an ass about it. It's okay not to understand it all at first, but it's not okay to be uncivil. Do your best, keep an open mind, and remember,
Gender norms are dead, baby doll.
welcome to
Bird and Craig explain the flags to you.
This is the agender flag.
Hey, gender. I hardly know her.
Craig! Agender people identify with little to no genders.
If you feel your gender is no, you might be agender, yo.
Don't say yo.
Yes, ma'am.
Somewhere between gender fluid, explained in the last video, and agender exists demigender people.
I love Hercules.
Not demigod, Craig. Demigender people exist with little to some amount of gender. They may specifically call themselves demigirls or demiboys according to which gender they identify with.
If you're somewhat gender-filled, I am somewhat gender-thrilled.
This is the bigender flag. Bigender people have two distinct gender identities which can be expressed at the same time or at different times. You could think of it as both man and woman, but that still depends on the gender binary. Gender varies from person to person. It's a form of expression, and there's no 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 things.
If your gender's more than one, then we think you're double the fun.
If any of the genders mentioned in part 1 or 2 feel right to someone, but they're not sure exactly which one it is, then they could exist under the genderqueer flag. Genderqueer people divert the binary in a number of ways, either existing outside it, in between it, slightly with it, or not at all.
When you're feeling genderqueer, you can shift to any gear.
This is the Two-Spirit flag. This is for people specifically of Native American descent. They may identify some way that looks close to any of the previously mentioned genders in part 1 and 2, or something completely different. Native Americans have a long history of having more than one gender across their tribes, and looking at gender through an Anglo-Saxon view is very exclusive to their culture. So much of history is genderqueer AF.
If your ancestors had it right the first time, then you don't even need a clever rhyme.
Now remember, gender is a super personal experience, so don't be a dingus about it! It's okay not to understand it all at first, but it's not okay to be uncivil. Do your best, keep an open mind, and remember,
Gender norms are dead, baby doll.
One of the most famous two-spirited person is Wewa, a leader, artist, and lamana from the Zuni tribe in now New Mexico. The term two-spirited describing indigenous people who occupy non-normative or multiple gender roles was established by the Indigenous Lesbian and Gay International Gathering of 1990. Many Native communities recognized their two-spirited citizens with acceptance for generations using their own traditions, terms, and roles until the US's plan for enforced indoctrination deteriorated these with mandated assimilation policies enforcing heterosexual monogamy. Wewa was lamana, which in traditional Zuni culture are male-bodied people who take on both female and male roles. They became famous when they traveled to DC in 1886 as an ambassador, where they were perceived as a cisgender woman and referred to as a princess. There, they met the president and gave lectures on their culture. After they returned, conflicts broke out with the US government. Wewa was arrested along with 5 other Zuni leaders, supposedly accused of witchcraft, and served a month in prison. They died in 1896 at the age of 47.
When I was starting out, I really felt that I had to, I guess, pretend to present as a woman in order to find success in this industry. And anyway, it wasn't sustainable, and I stopped pretending. And weirdly, it's at that point that I got nominated for Best Actress at the Golden Globes, which is like beautifully ironic. I don't know, I think the most important thing is that for me it implies that the space for trans people and gender non-conforming people is getting bigger all the time. So I feel like very privileged.
This is a fact which will annoy all the homophobes. They have a gay man, Alan Turing, to thank for the very technology that they're typing from. This is his story in under 60 seconds. Alan Turing was a war hero and considered the father of modern computer science. During World War II, the Germans would send encrypted messages to each other using a machine called Enigma. The Germans changed the settings for Enigma every 24 hours, meaning every day there were billions of possible combinations. Cracking the Enigma code was considered impossible. However, Alan Turing built a machine which could. By 1943, this revolutionary machine was deciphering a staggering 84,000 messages every month. It's estimated that due to his work, he shortened the war by over 2 years and saved over 14 million lives. However, sadly, by the very government he served, he was prosecuted for homosexual acts and forced to undergo chemical castration. A common side effect of this is depression. After a year of this government-mandated treatment, he committed suicide. Turing's work inspired generations of research into what scientists called Turing machines. Today, we call them computers.
What it's like being a blind content creator at Pride.
We are at Seattle Pride. There is a rainbow arch. I've been told we are going to be maybe at the top of it. Ready?
Sorry, Irene, I didn't see you.
We're about to enter. Where's the lights? Are we in? We are officially in the parade. You should get those avatars.
This is definitely how I dive. I have no idea what I'm waving at.
So what's your sexuality anyway? Let me get a PowerPoint ready for you. So I'm aromantic asexual. Oh, cool. So that basically means, yeah, I know what it is. Are you also? Oh, no, I'm very much cishet. I just read a lot. I assume you want to go to the Italian place for dinner then? They've got garlic bread. Yes, please.
You ever seen a ghost? I was over on the bench. I was over on the bench. I was over on the bench. I was sitting over on the bench. I was over on the bench. I made a salad with craisins. Hello, I'm Chip Mulaney. I'm your father. But sometimes he would be gay. Ever been to the goddamn zoo? I used to smoke crack. What's yesterday? Shut up, you're all gonna die. Street smarts. Boom, orange juice. That's life. Now I've thrown him off his rhythm. Give us some money! Stay down on the ground. Stay down on the ground, you motherfucker. Do my friends hate me, or do I just need to go to sleep? But why don't we just tell our relatives that I'm a 4-year-old boy? Hey, Do you want me to kill that guy for you? I am now gross. And what's this? Peppa! I'm putting wires into a board filled with holes to move the voices around.
Wait, you're trans? I thought you were non-binary. Well, technically non-binary is under the trans umbrella, so... Oh, so what exactly is trans then? Trans is basically anybody that doesn't identify with the sex that they were born with. Oh, I see. But not all non-binary people identify with the term trans, so it just depends on the person. Okay, so it's a bit more broad, like an umbrella. Umbrella. Ella, Ella, A. Rihanna, please adopt me.
Mommy! No, say mommy! No, mommy! 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 Say mommy!
Today I attended my first Pride Parade in Canada, and I was shocked to see a lot of Indigenous people. When I heard the sound of drums in the distance, I said it sounded like a powwow, and I was happy when I saw that it was true. But I was very curious about what Indigenous people think about LGBT. Now I can't imagine any event without Indigenous drums and dancing. It always makes me happy.
What should it honestly?
Transness has only been around for 29 years. Okay, baby boy, let's play. The US's earliest known trans advocacy group was in 1895, nearly 130 years ago. It was called the Circle of Hermaphroditos. Now, 130 years still isn't very long into human history, but it sure as hell trumps your 29 years. So let's go back a little further and leave the US. In Italy, in the early 1800s, we see the appearance of the word femminillo. A femminillo described a person who was assigned male at birth, who lived their life out as a woman and got married to men as a woman. But why don't we take it 400 years earlier than that? In the 1400s in Albania, we get the word bernesho, which describes someone who was assigned female at birth and wore male clothing and was a masculine person for the rest of their life. Let's go back 400 years earlier than that, to the 1200s. In Egypt, a group of people known as the Mamluk would recognize female porn people with masculine traits and then dress them up as sons for the rest of their lives, and they would be treated as men with male privileges and have wives. But let's go back 1600 years earlier than that, in 400 BCE! In ancient Greece, there were people who lived androgynously as prophets and healers, and they were called the Enrai people. But let's go back even earlier than that, to as early as 7000 BCE. Dating back to the oldest ancient history we have, we see depictions of people who either contain characteristics of both sexes or neither. And pretty much every region of the world with native peoples has a word for it in their culture. Dating back so far, we don't even know where it started. In indigenous Siberia, we get the word chuchi, which means trans or genderqueer. Mexico, with the early Zapotec and Oaxacan people, we get the muxe. We're called the bakla and the Tagalog people of the Philippines. They're commonly called the sister girls and brother boys of Aboriginal Australia. There's quite literally hundreds of different names across Native American tribes. We now put that under the blanket term two-spirited, but of course respect anyone who identifies as something closer to their tribe. In South Asia, they were called the Hijra. And now you may be thinking, well, that's only a couple of peoples across world history. No, it's freaking not! Because I only have so much time here, I chose random dates from history, but there are so many groups of people with so many names for genderqueer, trans, even drag queens, non-binary, everything. They've been here the whole entire time! Here's the other thing, they never go away. They just go into hiding when someone threatens to hurt them. And that's what's happening before our very eyes in the US, and that's what we need to be stopping. Because the history of genderqueerness is the history of humanity itself. Anyone trans watching this, please remember that in the earliest history, you would have been celebrated. You would have been considered a shaman, a religious leader. People would have looked up to you because you understood both sexes. So your ancestors are looking down on you and going, "Go, little rock star." So yeah, kid, I have done my research. Have you?
While being asexual can mean that you're repulsed by sex, it also doesn't have to mean. It just means that you're not interested in or have little desire to have sex. But being asexual also doesn't mean that you don't have sex either. Many ace people do, and they don't even have a terrible time doing it. It just means sex isn't something that you actively think about. Asexuality can sometimes be used as an umbrella term, with other terms like grey ace falling underneath it. If you've not come across the term grey ace before, it's a term that generally means people who do have sex, but in some capacities still consider themselves asexual. Asexuality is also often used in conjunction with aromanticism, like in the shorthand arrow ace. But while many people are asexual and aromantic, they're still different things. Being asexual doesn't mean that you don't like or don't crave intimacy, it just means that you like it in a non-sexual way. Similarly, it also doesn't mean that you don't find people attractive. Most of the time, it just means that your thought path stops at like, wow, they're attractive. It is really hard to describe the asexual experience as a whole because it can look so different from person to person. But like with any identity, there's no one way to be ace.
I to the S-E-X-U-A. It's a L if you hating on me, bitch, I slay. No, I am not gay and no, I am not straight. I'm the B in this bitch, pop pride all day. I like girls, I like guys, I like to eat.
Where do non-binary people come from?
Dunno.
It all starts in Mesopotamia.
When was that?
2000 BC.
2000 BC.
This civilization was the earliest records of humanity. There are references to types of people who are neither male or female, and the records describe how God created these people, their roles in society, and words for different kinds of them. At the same time, let's skip over to ancient Egypt, shall we? Who also described 3 genders: male, female, and Sekhet. Let's spin the globe one more time, shall we? And we'll go to Southern Asia.
Is this around the same sort of time?
This was actually a little bit later. This was around 400 BC. There are the earliest records of the Hijra people. The Hijra can consider themselves to be neither male or female.
As a whole entire civilization?
Yeah, and they still exist, the Hijra people, although oppressed they are. Next, we have 7th century BC. These are my favourites. The Scythians, who were Eurasian nomadic horse riders. who apparently...
You're making this up.
Who apparently honoured gender non-conforming people as priests and warriors. They apparently also invented the earliest known hormone therapy using licorice root.
Wow, just get me licorice root out.
Pre-colonial Native Americans, let's spin that bloody globe again, shall we? Who historically recognised various kinds of genders that all fall under the umbrella of Two-Spirit, which just encompasses the different kinds of genders that they had in the communities that don't fit in the Western gender binary. Now, post-Christ, 1st century, the year 100, there are records stating that classical Judaism actually recognised 6 genders. I can't tell you more information about that because I don't know it. Anglo-Saxon, when did they start recognising non-binary people? The roots of you and I, the British. Because in the 11th century, there was a word found called weapon withestra, which meant woman with a weapon, which also people believed to be woman with a penis, and may have been a word used to describe queer, intersex, non-binary folk back in the 11th century of Britain.
So it's not a new thing at all.
It's ancient. It's ancient, baby. It goes as far back as time as we know.
So I'm a trans non-binary high school teacher, and since coming out, a lot of people have asked me if students don't use Mr. or Miss with me, what do they put in front of my name? So the answer is nothing. I don't put anything in front of my name, and students just call me Flint. But recently, some of my students stayed behind after class to tell me that they do not like this arrangement anymore, and they presented me with some alternate honorifics for my approval. So let's go through them. Starting strong with Captain. I like this because it sounds like I'm leading a crew on the Enterprise instead of begging students to care about literature. This next one is good too, Sergeant or Sarge. It's masculine, commanding, but I don't think I can be counted to reliably spell it. Next is Lord, which made me immediately uncomfortable. Fun in principle, but I think in practice, I would be immediately alarmed if I heard somebody calling their teacher Lord anything. 4th is Coach, which I do here as a coach for roller derby, but the only thing I actually coach at school is academic decathlon, which I don't think qualifies me for this. Doc, I think makes me sound like I should be helping Snow White with her house chores, so I'm gonna pass. Chef, I think, is unquestionably my favorite. I teach English and film. My day doesn't deal with food at all, but the absurdity, I think, is its charm. Reminds me a lot of those people that are upset that I'm not closeted at school, who tell me to teach math and science. Sir, this is a Wendy's. I'm gonna skip right past this one. A late entry today was Your Honor. I think it might put students in a defensive position immediately, but sometimes they deserve it. Let me know if you've got a favorite.
Here are some non-binary terms that my family use with me. Before I get stuck into it, these are just terms that I personally like, but for every non-binary person, it's different how they like to be addressed. First one is broster. My sister and my brothers, they call me broster. Combination of brother and sister. Next one I have for you is a Dawson, a combination of daughter and son. My dad calls me his Dawson. Over here we have husband, combination of wife and husband. And you know how you normally say wifey? Well, wuzzy. Non-binary terms for aunt and uncle, auntie, unkie, uncle. I think I'll go with Unkie G if I'm ever an unkie. Nibbling. This is a word to use gender-neutral term instead of niece and nephew. Thank you for coming to my little non-binary school, and I hope you learnt some cheeky new words.
Cause I can hear your heart beating. I hear it and I know. I know you wanna take me home. And get to know me close. When your heart goes. I hear it and I know. I know you wanna take me home. And take off all my clothes. When your heart goes. This place is crowded up. I think it's time for you to take me out this club. But we don't need to use our words. I wanna see what's underneath that t-shirt. Shivers and cold shopping. I got the shivers.
Excuse me, bitch! Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Bitch, don't touch it or I'll bust your teeth. I want you not to be me. Oh, girl, that's not happening. Look at me, bitch. I'm exquisite. Look at my stuff, but please don't touch it. Looking at me, you will say, damn, her edges are laid. I will try to break this to you simply. We will never be on the same level. You gonna fight me, girl? Oh, I'll cut you. You've been warned. Have a seat, you dumb whore. I could kick your ass. But bitch, I've got class. You're not part of my world. Have a seat, bitch.
Let's discuss the greatest, gayest Greek army to ever exist. The Sacred Band of Thebes was an ancient Greek army made of 150 male lovers. See, homosexuality was far from a crime in ancient Greece. In fact, in many situations, it was highly encouraged. The philosopher Plato came up with an idea of building an army solely made of gay lovers, believing their total devotion for one another would lead them to fight with greater courage and ferocity, as well as boosting morale between the men. And by all accounts, it worked. It was this army of 300 men that helped to fight and become victorious against the Spartans. Literally slay. Partners would take sacred vows of love as their initiation into this troop. The eldest partner became known as the lover and the youngest as the beloved. These men then became full-time warriors, completely funded by the city-state of Thebes. They were provided with everything they needed for battle and to live a very comfortable lifestyle. The army, which became known as Invincible, unfortunately met its end in 338 BCE. They were no match for the Macedonian army. While the rest of the Greek armies fled, the Sacred Band of Thebes fought to the end, despite being outnumbered and surrounded. All 300 men died fighting to protect their lover, and their leader Theogenes fell last as he tried to protect his beloved. This incredible army is one that history has often forgotten, which is why I discuss them and plenty more incredible stories from history in my upcoming book, Kinky History.
Hi, homo. It's July, so you know what that means. Homo, no mo.
Limp wrist, time to straighten it out.
Peel off the rainbow because it's back to neutrals for you, honey. Lock away your flags and your fans and bury them deep into the earth. Don't even think of lavender in your coffee. And get your can back to the closet where you belong. See you June 1st.